Welcome back to another episode of Network One-on-One, where I sit down Nita Kurmins-Gilson of Produce Good alongside Cody and Christine Boger of Blue Honey Wine. Now, Blue Honey Wine uses fruit in almost everything that they do. And at the same time, Produce Good gleans tons of fruit every year throughout San Diego County. I thought it was a good idea to put these folks together, and I think that they really enjoyed the combination as well. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy Network One-on-One.
Hi. My name is Nita Kurmins-Gilson, and I'm the co-executive director of Produce Good. We are a food recovery nonprofit, and we've been operating as Produce Good since 2014.
Hello, and good to see you here. Me and Christine, Cody Boger and Christine Boger, we are the owners and operators of Blue Honey Wines Meads. And we've been in operation since 2020, I believe, right now, currently.
Hi, I'm Christine Boger. And like my husband Cody said, we are Blue Honey Wines Meads Co. We are a micro winery in Ramona specializing in country wine, which is non-grapefruit wine, and mead, which is honey wine. We pride ourselves in sourcing locally for our ingredients. And we officially launched our website in July of 2022.
Well, I think we should toast to that.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Mm-hmm. I can reach in.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this is our mango habanero.
Ooh.
You get a little bit of that tingle right there on there.
And it's just a slight heat, just a little bit of heat.
No, it's perfect. Wow.
That's why we really like it chilled. Because then it plays into a little bit better. You get a little bit of the heat, but then the cool. The cool from
it's
the
wonderful.
Mango. Yep.
You guys, that's wonderful.
I guess we have our first question.
Oh.
I'll go ahead and read it.
Yeah.
How did you transition from enjoying fruit to making a living with it?
Well, funny that you should ask. We were just talking about that. I think that the transition for me was walking in my neighborhood, many, many years ago in Carlsbad and seeing all the beautiful fruit that we love, the citrus on the trees, but it was on the ground. And I just thought, wow, what, someone's got to be doing something about that. That's just such a terrible waste. So that was my first transition, thinking, how can we do this? How can we keep this beautiful fruit from being wasted? What about you guys?
So this actually started off as a hobby for me, winemaking, and it started during the pandemic. I worked in the corporate world for 20 plus years, and unfortunately, I found myself at home. I take care of my parents full time, and it just started off as a hobby. And I actually started looking to it a little bit further, and like you, found out that there's a lot of wasted fruit out there. And so we started looking around and talking to farmers and asking them for their soft fruit. And they've been very gracious. So that's pretty much how we started. And like I was mentioning to you earlier, we look at fruit very differently now. Where I used to go and, like you said, get perfect fruit at the grocery stores, now we look at it a little differently. If I see fruit that can still be eaten or processed, what a waste. Let's not waste this. Let's try to do something with it. So that's how we got into it.
And it doesn't really matter what's on the outside. It tastes delicious, right?
It's actually a lot sweeter. The ones, the strawberries and the blueberries and everything that we get.
Right.
Much sweeter. And that's what we want.
Because the store stuff, really, they have to, I know there's a whole science behind that, but a lot of times the stuff is not even ripe when it gets there,
Right.
Like tomatoes, when they have to do that weird thing with them, they're already green, but they have to.
Or you have to sit them on the table for a little
bit. Yeah. And it's like, they're not at their peak. The peak is when, when they're ripe. Right. When you guys are.
Yeah, and a lot of the farmers aren't able to sell that because people don't want that.
Exactly. This is kind of like it's a circle, a vicious cycle. It's like the people don't want it because they think it's bad, and they've been taught to think it's bad because you go into the store and everything looks identical
and pristine.
Yes, and all perfect.
But we actually, some of the fruit that we get from the farms up in Palma Valley, they actually, all the bruised fruit, they call it bakers. Did you already speak on that? The baker's fruit, they freeze it. So that's like perfect for us. It's not stuff that they would ideally sell in the market.
Right.
So we can use that, and it's perfect for us. And then, just from people, I don't know how many citrus trees we drove by just coming out here, that are full and nobody's picking the fruit.
We're trying.
Yeah.
We're trying.
So, I mean, we see it all the time, and that we utilize people in our community over in Ramona, and they have those citrus trees where they, it's just making connections and networking. And next thing you know, we got 450 pounds of fruit, and we're like, okay, great, here we go. 3 days of processing, lemons. So, but we enjoy it because the quality of the fruit's way different than just buying it from the store.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's been a big difference, is getting it straight from the farm versus getting it from the market.
Mm-hmm.
You do see a big difference in quality and even sweetness.
Looks like this is for you guys.
Okay, here we go. So what is the difference between grape wine, mead, and country wine? So 3 different things there. So for us, we don't deal with grape wine. We experimented with one version of grape wine in combination with mead. So you use honey as your base, and then we use the grapes, and they call it a pine mint. So it's supposed to be a grape mead essentially. But other than that, we don't really do any kind of grape wines other than that one we've kind of experimented with, which we don't currently have for sale because we're still kind of tweaking a little bit. And then our free wines is just same process typically that we do with grapes, but we use fruit. So like we said before, we got a couple up there where we use mango, we use raspberries, or we use strawberries. So, the problems we've been having lately is just, making sure we can source those fruits locally as possible. All right. So we can get fruit that can't go to market and before it goes to waste, which is why, people in Ramona that have these massive citrus trees, they can't use it all. They might be using it in their garbage disposal because they don't have any other use for it. So we'll take it off their hands and we can actually turn it into a quality product because, as we've already said, coming straight off the tree or seeing the tree where you're getting your product from, it really comes forward in your finished wine, or at least for us. And then the meads there, we just obviously different style bottle. So we can tell there's a difference there. But
as far as grape wine and mead and country wine is concerned, grape wine, which is what most people drink, or when you think of wine, right? When you think of wine, you think of a wine that's from a vineyard, right?
Right.
Country wine is different, or fruit wine, in that it's non-grape fruit wine, so strawberry wine, blueberry wine, lemon wine, and mead is honey wine. So rather than converting the sugars in the fruit to alcohol, you're converting the honey into alcohol. So it's called honey wine, but more commonly it's called mead. So that's the difference. So we specialize in the country wine aspect, and then we specialize in the mead aspect as well.
And it's so great because the fact that you're not doing grapes, which are not necessarily great in this area anyway, and you're using the fruit that we have. I mean, I just find that to be really fantastic, and it's so delicious. I wish that we could share the taste of this. Because first I've never had habanero in wine, but also to have it be a different base than grape is just fantastic.
Well,
so
and
good.
I think there's a lot of people who may not be able to drink grape wine because of, let's say, the tannins in it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is an alternative to grape wine if you can't drink it. But it's also something new and unique that I think a lot of people haven't ventured into.
Yeah,
and especially in California.
I really did not have any idea that people made wine out of other than grapes.
Well, and that's so funny because in the events that we've poured for, that we get that a lot. A lot of people come to us, how do you make wine without grapes? And we explain it to them. It's the same process. We're just, we hand process the fruit, which is the biggest difference, I think, between country wine and grape wine, in that we have to hand process everything. So
what does that mean, hand process?
So each fruit's different, right? So with grapes, you're going to pick your grapes, you're going to crush your grapes, destem them, go through the process and ferment. Mm-hmm. Whereas with us, every fruit's different. Okay. So the citrus fruits are all processed very differently. Your cherries, your berries are processed very differently.
It really just comes down to peeling it, right? So we got to peel off the peels unless that we're intending on. So like grape skins, depending on how long the grape skin is exposed during the fermentation, you get blush wines or red wines or whatever. So for us, unless we're intending on keeping the peel, which most citrus fruits we're not going to, so we have to remove the peel on the lemons, off the oranges or the limes, right? So that's the point. That's what we're talking about. We say process. We got to go peel them all by hand, and then we use.
And then we juice them, and we both juice them.
Wait. You're peeling them by hand, or are you using are you not using any kind of machine like a?
Oh, no, it's all hand.
It's all hand. Excuse me, it's all hand.
Oh wow, my mouth is wet. You're peeling all of those 300 pounds.
Yes.
Wow, your hands must be tired.
It was 200 limes.
Wow.
200 pounds.
2 weeks ago.
200 pounds of limes.
And 400 lemons.
450 pounds of lemons.
Yeah.
This podcast is brought to you by YourInsurancePlace.com. Owning a business is hard work. You put your blood, sweat, and tears into it every single day. You need a partner who understands the ins and outs of insuring small to medium-sized businesses. For over 40 years, our California Property and Casualty Insurance Agency has insured businesses just like yours. We've seen it all, and we've learned a thing or two about what it takes to keep your business protected. That's why we offer free policy assessments. We'll take a look at your policy and let you know if there are any gaps in your coverage. Let us help you to protect what you've worked so hard to build. YourInsurancePlace.com.
Hello friends, I'm Joe Samo. I'm an attorney in San Diego, and I'm the host of Run It By My Lawyer. It's a great podcast where you will learn a lot about the law, and it is very entertaining if I say so myself. And you could get it for free anywhere you get your podcasts, and you could follow us on Instagram at Run It By My Lawyer.
Okay, are you using some kind of implement?
We're using a spoon.
We're using a spoon.
Oh my God. Okay, you need to do a video on this.
We actually have one on our social media.
Okay, I mean, that is like, first of all, like that's incredible. And I mean, we deal with thousands of pounds of citrus all the time, but we don't really do anything with it except pick it and then take it somewhere. But the fact of like actually peeling it by hand that's very impressive.
Some of the quality of the fruit, though, the rind is like really thick, so it actually peels really easily.
Yes, some of them do. I know, like the navels are really, really thick. The Valencias are a little harder because they're thinner. They make great juice, but it's not easy to peel. But the limes, are you kidding me? That's got to be really.
The limes were hard.
Some weird stuff's been happening lately because the product we got, they use organic fertilizer on it. So the lemons look like oranges and the limes look like lemons, right? So they're all yellow. So they're like, are we sure we're peeling?
They're so full. They're just juicy, very little skin. Or if there is thick skin, it's more pulp and juice than skin. Unlike sometimes you get at the grocery stores, it's the opposite sometimes.
Exactly.
But we're always getting really, really juicy fruits. Is it my turn? Yeah. Okay, I can ask it. How do we work together to mitigate fruit not being put to good use, reduce waste?
I have an answer. Well, one of the ways that we can do that, working together as a community, is to pick that excess, however that happens, or identify that you've got excess, especially citrus, because we all know either we've got a citrus tree or we know somebody with a citrus tree. It's just everywhere in San Diego. And the fact of, there is so much fruit, and, I'll just throw out some statistics I always do. 40% of all food in the U.S. is wasted. 40%, almost half being wasted. And then in San Diego, 1 in 4 San Diegans is struggling with food insecurity. I mean, it's just like you have all of this abundance and then you have all this need. So again, as a nonprofit, we're trying to mitigate that. We're trying to take all of that excess and transport it, get it to those in need. And those many organizations that we work with, fruit and vegetables are their fresh fruit and vegetables, produce is their biggest want. That's what they want and need and don't have enough of. So again, it kind of feels like a no-brainer in many ways. It's like, wow, you've got all this excess, you have all this need. What we do is we're moving it from, the source to the need, which takes a lot of work and is very logistically challenging, as you can only imagine. But that's the way that we see of doing this, local answer. We're not the food bank. We're not a big industrial thing where all this stuff gets put in and people come to it. We're actually moving it right away from where it's grown to where the different agencies are that do distribute to their clients. So it's not an easy solution, and that's probably why hardly anybody does it, because it's very complicated. And just for an example, we work with over 800 growers, and we have about 70 agencies that we distribute to. And every day we are doing at least one event, we call it. So we are picking up fruit and vegetables somewhere, and then we're taking it to the people who need it. And that involves, you have to identify the source. You got to identify your labor, or not labor, but our volunteers who are so wonderful, and they will do all of this picking work. And then we have to identify our recipients. And so every event is has 3 pieces to it. And last year we did 750 events. So it's a lot.
Wow.
It's a lot of logistics.
2 events a year or something.
I mean, a day.
Or a day.
Yeah. Right.
I was thinking
I know what you meant.
And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. It's per day. It's a lot, but we don't see any other way of, we really want a community-based response, because during COVID is a great example of what happened. Like the system sort of broke down. You had this industrial, all the food being, processed and moved somewhere, all of a sudden, all of the supply chain stuff just stopped. And there's all this food on trucks, food and, getting thrown off of trucks, food just stuck somewhere because it was coming from far away, trying to get somewhere else, maybe to a restaurant, whatever. And then it went to waste. So how we see it is, if you can keep it as local as possible, then you're going to not have that happening, because you know who's out there, your community, and your community can also benefit by understanding, they can help each other, especially with the fruit trees. I mean, your neighbors, you're talking about that you have so much, and it's nobody wants to see it go to waste. So It's why not be sharing this, or figuring out some kind of a system, some kind of a, network to be able to not let it go to waste.
Yeah, we deal with someone just like that in Ramona. They had a business where you could drive up to their property, and every property around them is pretty much desolate. It's desert, but their property is surrounded by trees, from persimmons to lemons and limes and oranges and everything, because they've just, been planting trees for 30 years over there. And they used to do farm to table, or they used to supply for farm to table restaurant.
Right.
And when the pandemic hit, they had a truck that was full of fruit and full of vegetables, and now that's gone. So they're trying to figure out what they got to do with everything. So we deal with them directly, and we've been able to get, at least a little bit of their supply that they would have sold into the,
or just thrown
the
away.
Restaurant or thrown away. Right. So we've been able to take that off their hands a little bit, and they got really good quality. Again, it goes back to the quality. You're seeing the tree or the bush that the fruit's coming off of.
The source of it, right? It's not gone through some kind of weird, processing that we don't know about,
Right. So we and then same with the neighbors and that are willing to give us their excess fruit. It's just helping keep it from going to waste, just like you said. So we don't want to see it go to waste either. And we're not going to be able to eat all the fruit either. So this is a easy way, it can't be sold in market, but we have a process that we put in place to help kind of convert it into something that could be useful and stored for a lot longer, because some of this fruit only lasts for a week.
Right. Yeah. Some are very kind of fragile and not that shelf stable. I mean, citrus, thank goodness, is really hardy and can sit for, a week or even 2, just sitting, because it has its own little house and it's nice. But yeah, I think that the whole idea of people are just now realizing, just like what you said earlier, you're just realizing, food, what is good, what isn't good, why are we doing things the way that we're doing them, especially in the supermarkets. But it's going to take, I feel like it's just going to take a lot more awareness for people to change their behavior, to not, demand that every single apple is perfect with not one little brown spot on it, and then they end up having to throw out those apples because they're not perfect. And it's that's a very inefficient and super wasteful system.
Yeah, we try not to buy, fresh, whole fruit, and when they're there. We try not to, but we've been trying to reach out to a lot of different farmers and just say, hey, whatever you've got, we'll take. And so just being able to network with people, I think helps quite a bit, because I don't think there are a lot of people out there who will want to take the soft fruit in order to process and do whatever. And we're willing to do that. We have tons of lemons and limes and we need more, but there's other fruit out there that we're sure of that are going soft.
Yes.
And that need to be redistributed. So, we'd love to be the ones to do that.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic. And I just, hopefully people who hear this can, maybe gets their little wheels turning about stuff, because it's literally a matter of just people sort of stopping and thinking about this, and nobody likes waste. I do know that's one of the reasons when I started this. I mean, that's why I started it so many years ago as a grassroots thing when I met my partners. But the idea, just waste just feels so bad. It's like all these resources went into it. You got the water and the labor and the, and then you just are going to throw it away. I mean, it's just like, so I think when people start to actually just take it into themselves, like understand it for themselves, I'm hoping that, they'll start to change the way they look at just even going to the grocery store. Because in France, I know they are already doing this. And then a couple of places in the US also where they are kind of doing like a, I don't want to say ugly, but the not as pretty produce section for less.
I think they do that in some other markets here.
Yeah, I mean, they should be doing that everywhere, right?
Yeah.
That seems so logical. Like, okay, if we'll just pay less for it. We'll charge less if you think it's really,
or if you had like a center where people that had excess fruit could drop it off, or like, oh, I have this whole tree and I'm not going to use any of it. I could just pick it and then take it somewhere and drop it off, maybe.
Well, a lot of people will post on Instagram or social media.
And that next door app is really, do you guys know about that one? Yeah,
yes.
that's I mean, it's very annoying on one hand, but on the other hand, it is kind of a way for people to be sharing like their
well, and that's how we got into it, with getting some of the fruit from the people in Ramona.
Yeah.
We just reached out. We seen a post. We reached out and to a few people, and we get the fruit from them, so that they don't have to throw it away, because they literally were trying to find ways to get rid of it, throw it down the garbage disposal, things like that. And I'm like, no, we'll take that from you.
Well, it's and so like, are you able to? I mean, I know you're just kind of getting into the sort of the groove of these people, but like, do you see that as being like an ongoing source? These of these excess.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they love doing what they're doing, but they just have an abundance of fruit. And one of the gentlemen that we work with, he takes care of his trees very well. So, it's always an abundance, and he absolutely does not want it to go to waste. So we're pretty sure it's something that he wants to continue with us for a while.
And how much, like, for example, like this bottle, or maybe I don't know if you can give me an example, but like how much actual fruit is in this? I mean, so like all the fruits that you all these hundreds of pounds, like how many bottles approximately would that produce? Or do you know yet? I mean, that might be
we know, like
the 400 pounds of lemons? Or?
Yeah, like how many bottles of
as far as we juice it into gallons, or that pretty much whenever we're making one of our products. So the 200 pounds of limes that we juice, we got 6 gallons.
Okay, and
6 gallons will probably produce.
But if you just break it down to 1 gallon, it's easier. So that's about 5 gallon batch.
Yes.
So about 27 bottles.
Okay.
Or 5 gallon.
Yeah.
And then what we got is probably going to make about 50 to 60 gallons.
Okay.
Of lemon wine.
So as far as like your own like sourcing, and at least like for this season, or I mean, I don't know what you call it, but like this batch or this, whatever. Is that, are you at a place where it's still not too much for you to be doing all? Because I mean, you guys both are doing a lot of other things besides doing this. Like how are you able to get that done? And does it feel like this is about the level that you can handle, just by yourselves?
Right now, I mean, we've got teenage kids, so they can help too.
But do they?
Oh, they do. They do. Yeah, they do.
Good. Oh,
yeah,
I'm so glad to hear that, because sometimes I think, oh gosh.
Yeah, I know. I think right now we're able to. once we're able to put more of our time into it, it's not going to be a problem. Like I said, I take care of my parents full time,
of course.
and he's still in the military, not retiring until next year. So this is a growing year for us. The last year we launched in July of 2022. It was just to let people, hey, this is country wine. This is mead. If you haven't heard of it, and this is what we do. And we started off very small, and it's been doing very well. And so this year is a growing year for us. So we've reached out to even more farmers to try to get, more fruit and whatnot. So right now, I don't think it is, but I mean, we don't know. We'll see how this year works and how this
really
year goes.
just getting, the word out there. Like you said yourself, a lot of people don't know about fruit wines.
Yeah.
And then the mead trend is picking up a lot more. And there's roughly like 8 meaderies maybe that are pretty known in the area. And we've gone to pretty much all of them.
Okay.
And we go to events like Uncorked, which is a big wine fest, and people are asking all day long, like, I didn't know you could make wine from fruit. Everybody assumes it's just grapes.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, that's your first, it's sort of like with us, it's like when people don't understand how much food is wasted. I mean, that's your first task, is to get people to understand like what's going on here. But like just even saying, wow, you can make wine.
And then the
not
next
from
thing we
pigs.
tell them, it's locally sourced.
Right.
Oh, and that perks up some ears. Oh, locally sourced, where? And then we tell them, and we tell everyone, we're not shooting for the good fruit. We're trying to source for the soft fruit.
Yep.
And that really opens up a lot of eyes, I think, and people are like, oh, okay, it's a lot more interesting. Now you know where your fruit's coming from.
Right.
And
you're saving the planet.
Yes,
you're helping.
exactly,
So that's
exactly.
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here's a question. Do you envision a way that we can work together?
Absolutely.
The future looks very fruitful.
Yeah.
I think for sure.
And that's something that Cody and I even talked about too, is if volunteers, I mean, I don't know how often you need volunteers, and we looked at your calendar, I think, and seen some of the events. So, I mean, how do we get into, or people learn more about that if they wanted to help out?
Oh, do you mean to volunteer?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So our website, producegood.org, we do have a calendar, as you said, and we have, we try to schedule out 8 weeks in advance. We're trying to do it even further right now because it's just such a busy season. But, and we have 2 different programs. So one of them, which would be much more along the lines of what you guys are doing, but we have the crop swap, which is the backyard gleaning. And when we say backyard, I mean, in San Diego, it can be like 1 tree or it can be 1,000 trees.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, we pick at all different levels, but those events are really fun. And we've just brought back these big picks, which are, before pandemic, we did all the time, but then we had to scale down and we couldn't have groups. And we're going back to that in addition to our daily picks. And that's where actually like a big group can come, your church group, your company group, anybody, you sign up and you all pick fruit at a big orchard for 3 hours on a Saturday or Sunday. That's totally going to be like opening up now and happening. So again, that's a really great way to do it. Our other program, which is a little bit tighter to get into because there aren't the actual volunteer spots, we only need like 2 to 4 people at a time. And those are, we work at 4 different farmers markets, Hillcrest, Leucadia, La Jolla, and we do a little bit at Oceanside. And we work on Sundays because that's their last day of market and they will not be able to bring it back on Thursday, and people won't, it's good for Sunday,
sure.
but it's at the very edge there. It's the very edge stuff. So that's a really fun volunteer opportunity as well. So we are, sourcing from different sort of places. So both the farmers market and the backyards. And then we have been starting to work with Jimbo's because they're local, and we're doing like grocery gleaning where we're just actually like going in, on a Monday or Wednesday, working with a produce manager, because even there's just waste. I mean, like they'll have stocks of, let's just say a thing of celery, 2 things fall off. Well, they're perfectly good celery.
They don't want to sell them individually.
They can't, they're not, right? So that's happening all the time, all the time. So that type of a thing we also are doing. So we're really just trying to almost get on the very tiny granular scale of like recovery. But as far as like interacting with you guys. I mean, what would be really amazing is, I know Ramona's a little bit far for us in terms of our reach, but it would be kind of cool if we could figure out some way of having a couple of picks out your way. And then, we could, donate some of that product to you, and then you could make something. And then, like you said, some of your neighbors just said all they would like is maybe a bottle of wine at the end. I mean, it would be, we've thought about this for years about having like, these big orchards and groves. And wouldn't it be fantastic to like be able to have a little, some kind of thing? Again, we hadn't gone down the wine route. We were thinking about beer, but beer does not work well with fruit, just FYI. We tried it. But, having some product where it's coming from this orchard and then they get to have it,
You
have
do
it.
fundraising events or
Well, we have fun. I mean, it would be a fundraising event. That would be super fun.
Oh.
So, I mean, again, that's another possibility, but we're very open because we love to partner with people. And I really think that the only way we can like sort of solve this problem is like with a bunch of different people together,
Yeah. And have them see things a little bit differently.
Exactly.
Looking at fruit a little bit
right.
differently.
They have this and they're like, wow. Or, I think I told you earlier, we work with a gelato company and they make, beautiful, beautiful gelatos from, recovered lemons or, strawberries. And people, when they get the story behind it, I think, like you said, they start seeing it differently.
The Film Hub is the future of co-working in downtown Vista. Get energized in an inspiring work environment that is built for your success. With multiple membership options for workspace and private offices, you can become a part of our co-working community. The Film Hub makes it easier to produce the professional content your business needs. From video production, live streams, photo shoots, or in-person events, you can create all this and more in our audio and video facilities. Love your work and where you accomplish it. The Film Hub.
We're here to interrupt your regular podcast listening and ask you to join us at Odd Pairing Podcast.
Yes, it's Paige and I, and we are here every week now on Fridays. And we talk about adult beverages in the community, a little bit of the history of it, and we're just going on a nice little journey. And you can hear other people's drinking stories. So why wouldn't you want to listen?
That's the best part.
That is the best part.
Cheers.
So
again, the shelf life in these products is a lot longer than the fruit itself.
Well, that's the whole thing about processing too, and that's a whole other subject. But we've talked about this many, many times about, San Diego, I think only really has 2 like food processing facilities. I mean, there might be smaller things going on around, but processing is necessary, or it's going to go. You can't eat that much. You just can't eat that much before it's going to go bad, right? So that's a whole other subject. But we would, just the idea of getting it into something else, before it goes bad is
absolutely.
A perfect example is the lemon tree that we got 450 pounds off of one tree, and it's already flowering to produce more.
Believe
And
me, I
it's
know. The lemons, it's like year round. The lemons never stop.
Oh
They just,
my gosh.
I know. It's crazy. It's
and
crazy.
we have 4 different lemon wines. That's how much lemon we get. So we have like 4 different
like
variations.
a Meyer one and a Eureka.
Well, we use Meyer for the majority of them, but we'll use whatever lemons we can
We've
get.
had Santa Cruz ones,
Right.
and we've had, but Myers has been the majority. But we have a lemon wine, a strawberry wine, a blueberry wine, and a raspberry.
There was strawberry lemon and blueberry
but they're all
lemon.
lemon
right?
based, so
Right.
that's what we use them for.
Because
I'm
there's
going
just
to
so
try
much
that
lemon.
one next.
Yeah, there's just so much lemon that we can get our hands on. And like you said, citrus is probably one of the ones that you see the most.
You do. And some interesting facts, just because I have them in my head. But, so San Diego, because it's kind of unusual, it's not like we have these huge commercial orchards. You have people living on land, that might have been an orchard before,
Right.
but it got developed. Now, we go to many homes that have like 50 to 100 trees, and they don't know what to do with it.
Oh,
it's like,
Just part of the property when they bought
it's
the
part of the
house.
property, and I'm sure it seems really cool. It's like, oh, like gentleman farmer or something,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden they call it like, the fruit's falling. What do we do? Like, they're not going to sell it. They don't know what to do with it. So that's one thing. But the fact of how much is out there, we did a little like extrapolation of, with the growers that we have right now, like just right now, we figured that we are missing out on about 15 million pounds.
Oh my God.
Because we've been steadily increasing every year. Like last year's at 250,000. This year will probably be closer to 300,000 that we've recovered of pounds. So, which, I mean, it's incredible for us because it's like great, but there's so much left. There's so much left. As you know, there's just so much fruit. So it feels like the potential is very, very large to be able to like capture that. And a lot of the mature trees, they just keep, they don't need anything.
Yeah, they just keep every year.
Yeah, they just, they just keep growing and fruiting. So it's kind of one of those things where the more people know about it and the more ways we could just, kind of save the fruit.
Sure.
We're definitely reassessing because we always talked about having a couple acres with fruit trees and stuff. And this puts it in perspective a lot more. It's like, well, maybe we only have one or two trees, not like a whole orchard of trees.
Right? Because unless you have them, you don't realize, oh my God, like one tree, like you said, one tree, that many hundreds of pounds.
We could never do it. Even with a family of 6, we couldn't handle that many lemons. Like, what are you going to do with it? I can only make so much lemonade.
Exactly. Maybe some limoncello, lemonade, but again, you're right. It's just, so we're right there with you. We just trying, we do feed people, and lemons, interestingly enough, everyone's like, well, what do people do with lemons? Why are you doing, but a lot, they're very expensive in the store, first of all.
Oh yeah.
And so it's really prized to do that. And a lot of our agencies, people love them, and there's all different kinds of cultural, traditions and families and foods. A lot of them use lemon for a lot of things, and they love getting lemons. So that was I was surprised about that.
It's definitely I think a lot up in Ramona, and the Ramona just started its own certified farmers market.
Oh, what day of the week?
So Saturdays.
Okay.
Every Saturday.
It was supposed to start on March 25th, but because of the rain, the weather, they've had to delay it. And we wanted to be a part of the farmers market as well. But unfortunately, since nobody has a fruit wine,
the state law doesn't. The state law verbiage does not support. Yeah,
it supports
someone like us.
Great wine industry.
So, are you guys going to Sacramento? Are you going to go like fight the law?
Maybe,
we've talked about it because we're very unique in that nobody really does fruit wine in California. There are other states, there are some. Usually it's the farmers who have the fruit wine. And so we tried to participate, and they told us, you have to grow your fruit. You have to grow your fruit in order to, and make your wine in order to be able to sell and be
I see a big, one of you is going, as soon as you're retiring, you're going to Sacramento, I'm guessing, to go. Or maybe you will.
It's just two. Yeah, they basically have it broken into 2 categories: breweries and wineries. Breweries can purchase their products in the state of California, and they can participate in the certified farmers market. Wineries have to grow it on their property from growth to bottle on their property. And we don't do that, right? Because we're trying to save fruit and all that. We process 20
different fruits. There's no way we can grow all of that.
I just have to tell you, so now that I'm on a little roll here, because we have worked now with the state of California numerous times, and we're gleaners. I don't know if I said that in the beginning. That's what we technically are called. And gleaning is this really underutilized way of, food recovery. Like people think about food recovery and they're like, oh, you're taking stuff from the grocery store or prepare. But it's like, no, we're talking about fresh stuff coming right off the trees or right off the farm, taking it right to people. That language, the gleaning language, was not in several different bills that just came down the pike. And you guys probably have heard of this SB 1383. It's the one that was in the news that was about the composting, because now everyone's required to compost, and the state has set this really aggressive goal to cut food waste in half by 2030. It's not going to happen, but it's great that they're ambitious.
There's an effort.
But part of a lot of that legislation initially didn't even include gleaning as a solution. So we had to, as some of the gleaners here in San Diego, and also we were in this other San Diego Food System Alliance, some of the policy changes, it's just that they don't even know.
Right.
And you have to educate the policymakers.
Well, the person I was dealing with, they were very gracious, and really trying to help us.
From the ABC office.
Yeah, from the ABC office, really trying to help us with this. And I was throwing everything at them. I can get a letter from the certified farmers market.
Yeah.
That I buy their soft fruit, that we're actually helping.
Sure.
Whatever it is, because we're trying to help the farmers and the community, right?
Right.
And so, I mean, you got to give us a little bit of something. We can't grow 20 different fruits.
No. And also, I'm just saying, you guys are already doing the SB 13. You're doing that. That's part of it's almost like you're complying with this other mandate of like your business is actually contributing to this, saving of.
Well, and then we process all the fruit. And then we have three compost bins to fill. So we do it because that's what we're asked to do and we want to do it, but it is what it is.
Well, we'll have to maybe just talk a little more because we work with a lot of different entities and we're in this group called the San Diego Food System Alliance, and they are like this giant umbrella organization that's trying to improve the food system. They work with farmers, fisheries, with food recovery cleaners, lots of different areas of food system. But one of the things that what you're saying right now, it's just like the connection between the talking and the reality, like you have to have some kind of support or maybe just a champion to be like, this is, if they could just
someone
see
could advocate for us.
Yeah, an advocate who actually is understanding the value of what you're doing into what, the fact that they're not letting you do it is so ridiculous, but they don't, again.
Well, what it boils down to is the verbiage.
Exactly.
That's what they said. That's basically what they said was the verbiage doesn't.
You don't meet the criteria based
and doesn't
on the verbiage,
encompass, the statute doesn't encompass us. And okay. Like I said, they were very gracious and tried to work with us.
And I'm sorry, is the ABC, is it federal or is it state?
I believe it's state.
Okay. Because it feels like, wow, it just, honestly, we can certainly exchange information, but I feel like I could at least connect you with a couple of people who might be able to get you a little further, or at least connect you with somebody who may be able to know
that would be wonderful.
How would that be, possible? Because it, again, right here, it feels ridiculous. Like, of course,
we know we're a small operation and we're not.
No, but the idea of what you're doing is not small. The idea of what you're doing could be huge.
Right. Well, and that's why what we were trying to portray to her is this is something that's a little different. Yeah. And we will get letters. We'll get whatever you need so that we can, we understand, we're very different and we're unique. And it just currently. So I told him, you know what? I said, this might be something that we may have to take a little further. Because, what if
someone's got to be first, right?
Sure.
You guys could be the first ones.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess we I guess we need to answer this.
All right. So the question, how can the Network One-on-One audience reach out to you? So that's you. You got it. So
to reach out to Blue Honey Country Wines and Meads Company, our main website is www.bluehoneywinesandmeads.com. And we're also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Facebook, it's Blue Honey 21. And on Instagram, it's Blue Honey _21. And then on Twitter, it's Blue Honey WM. So you can find us on all three social sites. We're very active. We have a calendar on our website that keeps you up to date with our events and whatnot.
Cool.
I would have never remembered all that. That's why she answered the question.
That's why she does the social media.
Oh, that's it. She lost me after the email. I was like, what? Okay.
I know. It's oh my gosh, it's a really ongoing thing, social media. So how you can reach Produce Good. It is Produce Good everywhere. So we're on all the platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. We also have a YouTube channel, and that's pretty exciting. We do a lot of videos. So we're out there. We're very active as well. And really very excited about what's happening in San Diego in general. San Diego doesn't usually, to the rest of the world feel like, super cutting edge or anything. It feels more like laid back and beachy. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of really exciting things going on in terms of, especially with the food thing. It really is kind of amazing. One other thing I was going to tell you guys is that, or maybe I already said this, that San Diego County has the most small farms in the U.S.
Oh, no.
Which I thought would be in the South somewhere. I just figured the most small farms.
More humid areas.
And then the most small farms owned by women. So women run small farms.
Oh, wow.
So it's pretty. That was kind of
yeah.
amazing. I thought, wow, okay. But yeah, there's a lot of excitement going on in terms of young farmers farming and all the stuff about, just, and again, about keeping it local and growing the food and knowing where it's coming from. And
Yeah,
where,
absolutely.
We tried. We grew like one eggplant and some arugula.
Hey,
But we're
more than
working our
me.
way up. We got some. We're trying to sprout some lemon trees. Maybe we'll
We
dive
got a
up.
couple of dragon fruits. And
There
we're
you
trying our
go.
hand
Look at
it.
you.
Yeah.
No, oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so we're trying to
Trying to do our part.
garden a little bit, and then it's been an adventure for sure. So that was one of the reasons we're trying to do the farmers market is to because most of all of last year our events were all fundraisers for promoting, and there was no real income in any of those events. And we're part of an HOA where we can't have a tasting room either. So we had a petition to the board so we could even do a small business on our property. And then now we're trying to figure out
And
ways.
did you get that?
Oh,
Yes, we did.
Look, you guys are on your way. You're going to Sacramento. You're going to Sacramento.
We've every obstacle that's popped up, we've tried to overcome it, and this has probably been the biggest and probably most recent one. So I told him, I said, maybe we need to tackle this one.
I think you guys should totally do that. I mean, I know it's really hard because no one knows. That's the hardest part is like first telling people what you are. I mean, people don't even know, but the fact that you are the first. I mean, I think it's just fantastic.
I definitely want to keep in touch with you about this, so maybe you can give me some tips about it.
Absolutely. And the other thing too is like, these farmers market situations or even these events, love to know like where you guys are at those. And if there's any way we can do even maybe a collaborative, ceremonial thing. I mean, not like but it would be really fun for us because we frequently start a lot of our new ventures as pilot programs because we never know where they're going to go. But, and that's how we started with the gelato company, and it's Gelato Love, amazing stuff. But to do like maybe like a batch, like we pick the fruit somewhere, we bring it to you, you make a batch, and then we do a promotion about it.
I would love to do that for you.
Okay, well,
Absolutely.
great. Well,
Yeah, we
done.
just started to grow a little bit more. We got some bigger batches that we can up to 100 gallons that we're potentially looking at doing in the future here. So
we're growing and
good
we're trying
growing
to keep
year.
Oh, it's amazing that I still can't believe that you guys are peeling those by hand. I'm still.
It's definitely a labor of love.
Oh my gosh. I mean, do you guys have music? Are you doing some kind of thing?
The music is essential.
Yeah, classic rock.
Okay, got it. That feels like the best thing.
Yeah.
Like just
We're 80s.
with
We're
a
both.
beat?
We love
Okay.
Yeah, we're
80s.
80s. We're 80s.
Okay.
Too, so, but
Like,
it's just, to me, it's the relaxing sometimes just to sit there. I mean, yes, the hours can get long, but we don't sit there for a whole
It's
day.
actually kind of relaxing.
Yeah.
it feels like it would be therapeutic in some ways.
Well, it smells fantastic.
Well, that's the other thing. I always talk about this. It's like how, like we're out in a beautiful orchard and it smells so good. And it's like, I wish I could convey that on
every
the
time
website. It's like it's like these flowers and the fruit.
Yeah,
it's just,
absolutely.
it's like heaven. It's kind of like heaven.
And when we go to pick up the strawberries or the blueberries,
And you're
they're in the truck or the van, and I'm sitting there driving, I'm like, oh my God. It's wonderful. And I'm telling people, I wish you could be in the car with me right now.
I know.
So
I
you
wish
can
there was
tell
like
them.
smell-o-vision or something or some way of like conveying it to other people.